Welcome to the Non-Breaking Space Show from Austin, Texas. I'm the internet's Christopher Schmidt. On today's show, we're joined again by Simon St. Laurent. On today's episode, we discuss the winners of Comic-Con San Diego, the finding of a new shape, the bittersweet tanking of social media companies Twitter and Facebook, failing to grow revenue off our data, and much, much more. But before we get started, some things I'd like you to know. You can sign up for the UX Design newsletter. It's a weekly list of articles and tutorials and inspiration handpicked by me, Christopher Schmidt. You can sign up at uxdesignnewsletter.com and have the best links of the week sent to your email. As always, thank you for telling others about the Non-Breaking Space Show. Now, on with the show. Hey, Simon, how's it going?
It's going great. Good. Figuring out all kinds of new things this week.
Okay. Like, what new things are you?
Oh, I'm just digging deeper into CSS and audio recording and just many different angles that I haven't gotten to. So
okay, cool. Anything specific about CSS or?
Fluid layouts and fluid typography and making everything fluid.
Cool. Yeah, we haven't released the episode yet, but we have one coming out with Tim Brown talking about flexible typesetting. So his new book just came out on the Book Apart. So that was a good one. So that's coming out very soon. So awesome. Yeah, fluidness. That's a big topic. So is there anything particular about that or just?
I think I'm sort of approaching anarchist CSS, but I need to figure out quite what that means before I go much further. So.
Okay. I know. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, let's just dive into our next stories, for the week.
Countdown. Number 8.
So I think it's Comic-Con. It's Comic-Con news all around. I've been to Comic-Con a couple times, which is like pretty intense. It's like South by Southwest times 3 at the very minimum. And so if you go to South by Southwest now, it's overwhelming. But we go to South by Southwest, like I went to Comic-Con for something 2010, and I was like, I've been to South by Southwest. I can handle Comic-Con, and I was just flummoxed by how many people show up for Comic-Con, and that was like back then. That was like 8 years ago or whatever. So
I saw them setting up for Comic-Con in like 2003 or 4, and I was just like, okay, that's big.
Yeah, so I was so naive the first year. I bought a ticket, before they do like a lottery now that you sign up and you have to you have to log in, wait 2 hours, and then maybe you'll get a ticket. Right. And then so I just I bought my ticket online. It was like, hey, okay, cool. And then so I show up, the day before they open up, and I was like, and there's this nice lady in this nice information booth, and she was like. And I was like, hey, is this where we go to enter to get registration? Just get like my badge and stuff, right? Like, because I've gone to normal web design conferences, industry conferences. I know what's going on. I know what's going down. I'm hip. And she looked at me like, yes. And I was like, oh, so what time should I be here? Like 8, 9, or like yeah, whatever. Like, yeah. And I was like, it was like the weirdest. It was like weirdest helpful conversation I've had. Like she was being helpful, but I felt like there was like something she could have like talked to me about. So next morning I wake up, sleep in a little bit, not even sleep in, but like hey, I was well rested is what I'm trying to say. I go to the train, which is like right by the hotel because I'm a mile away, and the train will take you it'll drop you exactly in front of the convention center in San Diego. And so I'm like the only guy at the train stop. It's like, hey, whatever, cool. Whatever. The first train comes loaded to the bear with nerds. Like they doesn't even stop because they're so loaded at this train stop. I was like, hey, that's cool. I'll get the next one. Right. I wait 15 minutes and the second train is just loaded again with nerds. It's just like, hey, I want to be on that train of nerds. Can I go? And so at that point, I'm just going to walk it. And it's a mile walk, and I walk right to the spot where I met that lady at the information desk. The information desk is gone, but it's been replaced by a line of people, pretty much single file. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a line for the badges. Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right, cool. So I go follow the line, and then it wraps around the building, which is the building is again a convention center, so it's not a small building. So I walk around that, and then it wraps around the wall. It wraps around another wall. The line goes through a parking lot adjacent to the convention center, and then it goes, and it's on a harbor, right? It's like right next on the harbor, right? So it goes to the Riverwalk, and then it keeps on going back and back. I walked a mile to get to that spot. I walked a half a mile back, to get in line for it to open up. And you think I'd be upset, but no, I had a blast because like people were in like cosplay and in front of me in line. We just talked for like for long, and the line moved pretty fast because I've never been to a place where they literally had hundreds of people in front of computers whose job it is to look at your ID, scan your barcode on your registration form, print out your badge ID paper, throw it at you as soon as it's done printed, and give you the plastic lanyard thing, like the little that you attach, and say next. And then you have to walk off and you have to assemble your own badge, like right there. So yeah. So it's pretty huge is what I'm trying to say. But, and that was like 8 years ago. So I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, so that's my Comic-Con story. It's awesome. But so Comic-Con, big news is that DC Comics, which needed a win because of all the bad movies that they've had. But apparently they ruled Comic-Con this year. And that's pretty much because Marvel didn't do much of anything this year. Because they're
taking a break.
Yeah, it was sort of taking a break because they're in the middle of Infinity War. Like, I'm not sure if you saw Infinity War or you know about it, or spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But people die in it, and so it's a cliffhanger. And so I think what they're doing is kind of they haven't really announced a lot. They've kind of announced movies that they before this kind of weird break that they're kind of like in stealth mode right now. So before they launch the next phase of the Marvel movies. So they're having people know they have a Captain Marvel movie. So that's in the works. They know that there's another Black Panther movie coming and into the work and stuff like that too. So there's a Black Panther's coming back. Captain Marvel's going to be there. So, but they haven't announced they have Untitled Marvel movie number XYZ and stuff like that. So
they think they're releasing software.
Yeah,
they have a code name for it, and then
right. So it's interesting to see how they will announce everything. But it's Disney, so they will have an automatic promotion machine already to put it in there. But yeah, so yeah, I'll see what they do. But because Marvel wasn't there, DC kind of won. DC's owned by Warner Brothers, so and LA is like 2 hours away from San Diego, so a lot of good pop in there. So a lot of trailers were announced as usual with Comic-Con, and so DC released the Aquaman trailer, which when I look at that, just screams, "Hey, we're not dark. We're happy. We're having a good time." Because that's a big complaint with DC movies so far. They've been really dark. Also, they've been bad. That's also the other.
The Lego sets are kind of cool, but with Aquaman being the light one, I'm kind of like, does this keep up Aquaman's reputation as a lightweight?
No, I don't think so. But
okay, good.
I don't know, but I think so. It's pretty fun, but also like the whole thing was like even the trailer says like, "Hey, we're not dark." Even the title card for Aquaman is white background. So that's my first impression was like, "We're not dark." See, white title card. Our logo is white background.
Blinding. Yeah,
it was like pretty good. So so it's really great. It's a good trailer, and then they also done other trailers for Shazam, which is a Comic-Con favorite, is Zach Levi, who stars in it as in it. So it's pretty good. That's also very light. Just the nature of Shazam, DC Comics, Captain Marvel is he's very light and like I guess light humor. I guess I don't know, like lighthearted, I guess is the way to say it. So it's very very comical in a way, if you will. So
the comical side of comics.
Yes, exactly. So, and so those are pretty good. One thing I did notice was that what was it? There's both the Shazam and Aquaman, I think, have two kids beating each other. Like they're being bullied. Sorry, not beating each other, but being bullied. So that was like weird. That's like kind of like because Aquaman as a kid gets bullied by kids in front of an aquarium, and then Shazam stops a fellow foster kid from being beaten up and some of that too. So I think
Check it out. Arthur is talking to the fish.
If you could have one superpower, what would you pick?
Everybody chooses flight. You know why?
So they can fly away from this conversation?
No, because heroes fly.
What, you need your fake family to stand up for you? Hey!
Man, sorry about that.
Go, go, go! Grab it! Get out the way!
but yeah, it's kind of weird both DC Comics movies have that.
Yeah, that does. That they're both from the same place makes me wonder. But yes.
But yeah. So anyway, and also DC Comics, another thing that made them win DC Comics, because they've finally announced officially their DC Universe, which is their subscription streaming service. And so it could be part digital comic books service, new TV shows. So if you're watch TV shows on CW, like the Arrow, Flash, or what have you, they have the like kind of Teen Titans version of it, and some other new shows coming up as well. Like I think Doom Patrol is coming there, and then and also the classic DC Comics movies like Christopher Reeve's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman. I mean, you could buy the DVD, I guess, if you wanted, but I guess I don't know. But yeah, but they finally announced that, so that's coming out. So that kind of like gives me pause. Like we can go talk about this another time, but I just feel like with all these subscription services adding up, it's like it gets getting more costly than cable. So in terms of
yeah, I mean it's the unbundling question. Do you want to pay for all the pieces, or do you want this kind of giant blob of stuff?
Yeah.
My guess is that for the stuff that I want to see. Which doesn't necessarily include DC, but totally could include parallels to DC. The unbundling is probably going to make a lot more sense. We'll see where this goes. With that traditional cable bill, a huge chunk is going to sports, which I am really happy to watch in bars and pizza places. So, yeah, I'm a little concerned that as the whole world fragments into like 50,000 different individual subscription services, it's going to be hard to have conversations, and it might get expensive. But I guess, at least in theory, we should be getting what we want more often.
Yeah, I mean, there's also that start and stop like subscription model. So like, just pay for what you want when you want it, and then so like if you want Stranger Things season 3, you just like binge it, and then you only pay for it for a month or something like that. So.
The other thing that makes me sort of happy here is that I trust buying content from the people creating the content more than from an intermediary. It's sort of like I marvel at how much of my social media feed is filled with things that are, here's what's leaving Netflix. Here's what's coming to Netflix. I'm like, there are people building entire companies on what's coming and going at Netflix. And, it's sort of weird to me. Like I still have DVDs. I like having that, I know it's there. I can put this thing in unless the kids scratched it, or I did. It's actually available. And with DC, it's possible that something will happen to their subscription service and something will fall out of it. But mostly, you got this DC thing. It's going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's going to be a solution where I think cable companies can come back and say, hey, we'll give you your, and they probably do already, but I don't really look into it, but like, we'll just manage your digital content, entertainment for you. And so that's sure, I think, what the Apple box, Apple TV is supposed to be. And, but you have to buy into the ecosystem. And so one app I totally love is Movies Anywhere, which I think is owned by Disney. And so if you buy an app, movie, or like maybe even TV show from multiple locations like Amazon or iTunes or whatever, it all gets funneled into this one app, and you can just watch all your movies in one place. You can download them to the app and on the go and stuff like that too. I think that's a really great solution for that, but it'd be great if that was also like like in your house too. So like if you didn't have to like rely on streaming, you could actually download into your home network and stuff like that too. So
it's a seriously fragmented world out there right now. So
yeah, so there's gonna be a service that's like come out of the box. I know you can actually piece it together with hardware, and if you have the time and technology skills, you can actually like build your own PC and multimedia PC and do that. But,
it's awesome stuff. I even have things that are meant for that, and I use them for boring backups.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna try to investigate that and see what we do. But just a couple more things from Comic-Con that I'm not sure if there's anything you want to talk about other than Comic-Con, but the Glass trailer, which is a sequel to M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable from 2000, starring Bruce Willis, is coming out finally.
But what I am questioning is your belief that you are something more than human.
And yet, it is true. My bones break easily. I've had 94 breaks in my life.
But you have an extraordinary IQ.
This is not a cartoon. This is the real world.
No way.
And yet, some of us still don't die with bullets. Some of us can still bend steel. I've been waiting for the world to see that we exist. May I meet the beast? I hope for your sake that he likes you. That sounds like the bad guys teaming up. A lot of people are going to die. Don't do this. Are you ready?
What do we call you, sir?
First name, Mr. Last name, Glass.
I enjoyed Unbreakable, I guess, as a comic book guy. I enjoyed Unbreakable when it first came out, and I feel like it got kind of panned when it first came out. And then Split, the movie came out. James McAvoy started. It was a really big hit, and it kind of did a stealth sequel to Unbreakable, and so I think that kind of loosened the budgets, wallets a little bit. Because, they say, "Oh, it's a superhero movie. Oh, here we go. Here you go, M. Night Shyamalan. Here's some money."
Right.
Oh, you want Sam Jackson? Oh, here's some more money. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my favorite movie of his was widely panned and is unlikely ever to get a sequel. It was The Village. Which
okay.
Sure, they managed to shoot on a much lower budget than even Yes.
Okay,
but,
I have to ask you, what about The Village? Did you like that? What do you like about it? Because it's so universally panned.
I know it is. It's kind of funny because it's frequently panned for the stiffness, and the actors are totally stiff. But I think that actually makes sense because the entire situation is uncomfortable and is from the beginning. So I don't know. It's like they built this really brittle place, and everybody acts brittle. And I know it's painful to watch that. It's really awkward. That's what happens in these situations. But it works. Okay. I think people think it's a mistake because the same kind of brittleness shows up in his movies when it's not necessarily the right thing to have. I loved the weird little stuff they did with the colors. And the surprise part was actually a surprise to me. I had no context. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was wondering why they were all so uncomfortable with each other. And then, oh, yeah, okay. It's not a surprise on the level of I See Dead People or anything, but it was a very weird movie that I think in a lot of ways is even weirder than most of the rest of his. So yes, I have bad taste. It's good.
No, it's all right. No,
so actually I have the DVD of Peter Jackson's Bad Taste as well, but that's a different story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think, I'm glad we have M. Night Shyamalan just making these type of movies anyway. So just because it's very hard to get I think original movie out there these days.
Original movies at all.
Yeah. I mean, look, I just watched Mission Impossible 6, and to be frankly, it was really, really good. So as an action movie. So it was really good. So, but I was like, this is a sequel to a sequel to a sequel. Like, and so, so yeah, and Marvel movies are sequels into themselves.
I kind of like the consistent universe thing. Like, we build this place and we can keep using it. Mm-hmm. But I'm a lot less fond when it's like explicit remakes or sequels that are really made just for the sake of milking it. It's complicated. Another trailer that just came out, I think at Comic-Con, was the Crimes of Grindelwald sort of bigger trailer. That's another one where, like, we have this whole Harry Potter universe. Millions of people have read it and seen it and know it. And now she's doing kind of wacky prequel, let's go back into this world, what came before, which sets up all kinds of different tensions, especially when she like crosses to America. I'm really curious to see like how far that can push. In a sense, like I see that Target now has but my son was really excited because they had Aragog's cave and he could get a giant Lego spider. Like, that wouldn't have been my first choice of set, but okay. But I feel like we're sort of like in the season where things that were hot 15 years ago are suddenly hot again. And, does this keep working, or do we at some point say, I've seen this before. Why are we still here? So,
yeah, I don't know. Well, speaking of sequels, I think the Rolling Stone said that the best buzz-worthy trailer was the Godzilla King of Monsters sequel coming out. So there you go.
You are out of your goddamn mind.
I am sorry, but this is the only way.
You're a monster. I'm sorry.
Long live the king.
It looked pretty cool, dude. I must admit, it looked pretty nice. But I will say that when I first saw it, I clicked on what I thought was the Shazam trailer. And so the Godzilla trailer opens up with a kid who, Shazam is actually a kid who transformed into a big superhero. So I thought, oh, hey, this is a kid who's he's Captain Marvel, he's a Shazam. And then like there's this big nuclear cloud coming his way. And I was like, oh man, DC Comics just went weird. And I love it. And I love it. This is going to be great. And then all of a sudden there's like this like Mothra, like 2018 Mothra coming up. I was like, Shazam fights Mothra? Like, this is awesome. This is going to be great. I don't know where they're going with this, but I'm in. And then I see Godzilla. I was like, oh, I think I pressed the Godzilla trailer by mistake. So
wrong button.
I was like, man. But
I liked your version. I mean, the crossover possibilities are awesome. And I mean, even my kids are always mixing series constantly. It's like Star Wars meets Harry Potter meets these Warrior Cats books. I don't know. But
yeah, that'd be kind of cool to see a DC Comics Marvel movie crossover. That'd be kind of cool. He says that, and then people it's like groan. But
I think the Godzilla crossover. I think that's the one we want.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's pretty awesome. All right, the next story.
Number 7.
11% of Americans don't use the internet.
Yes, they are still using the DVDs I just mentioned, or maybe even VHS tapes or 8 tracks or 8mm film is actually kind of back. But yeah, I mean, this has always been interesting to me because like I got on the internet early-ish, like 89 or something, took a year away from it, which was a good thing. And it's just so completely automatic. Like, I don't think I've actually explained to my kids what the internet is. They just grew up with this thing and it's there. And maybe I'll sit them down and explain TCP IP addressing. It'd be great. I knew there was a reason for this. But I know lots of people who have chucked their smartphones for flip phones. That one is actually like really common, even if they're using the internet elsewhere.
Yeah.
I found my flip phone the other day. I was kind of nostalgic about it, but the buttons don't work and it won't connect to a network anymore. So
there you go.
Never mind. But I think, this is kind of a common thing with technology is that we think everyone is using it.
Mm-hmm.
We build all of these systems that assume everyone is using it. And in some fields, like healthcare is kind of the most obvious one. Building systems that assume that your audience has access to the internet will actually kill people. Or you build systems where, yes, there's a way around, but it's this grudging, oh my God, do we have to do this for you? Fine, here's the paper form. I think the 11% is Americans. We are the most bathed in this glow. Mm-hmm. 11% is way more than the proportion of Amish in the country. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to, I guess the other thing that I would love to measure, but I don't know any way to do it. I mentioned the people going back to flip phones. I'm also seeing people who are doing things like departing Facebook and Twitter, but staying on email, mm-hmm. Or cutting their internet usage to 1 day a week. That's been kind of a strange thing.
That's pretty awesome.
It works really well with the public library thing. Like they just take a day where they plan they'll be in the library and they cut their connection. And then, once a week they have this buffet and they can communicate with the world. And as long as all your friends know it's going to take a week, that's, it's fine. It's easier than the postal service writing a letter. Mm-hmm. Although the way to my mother's heart is handwritten thank you notes. It still works, even though she's on the internet. I don't know. I feel like this is something that we've assumed has gone away, but might actually be returning. I'm a strange guy still having physical media, but I'm on the internet perpetually. So I'm kind of relieved to see people doing it different for me. Any of your friends off the internet? Family?
No, I got relatives who were decided to get off Facebook, and mm-hmm. They said like, oh, their blood pressure went improved immensely. So
yes,
but yeah, I think I think people just realize like I think one of the things I realized is that being on social media and seeing how Twitter's grown, that people just I think I've assumed that people have different opinions than I do or different points of view, which is totally expected, but. Mm-hmm. They have points of view about things that are totally stupid. Just like I would not be for that in any shape of the word. Like that's just not my. I'm hesitant to point an example in case someone's like, man,
right.
That guy Chris is really annoying about that. But
the part that I've been amazed at is people have opinions about things I never thought anyone would have opinions about. So.
Yeah, it's just like that's amazing. Like there's like. I thought we all agreed that was bad. I thought we moved on. It's like I don't know. Do we need to spend more time on XYZ issue? Like I think we're all agreed that was bad. It's sort of like I think the joke is like I think there's a joke that I share with politicians. Like when they're in trouble or they're just trying to placate audiences. Like I believe murder is bad.
Yeah.
So like, oh, really? Okay, that's great. I think I'm against murder too. I will vote for you because you're like, it's just like.
Oh, by the way, here are the exceptions. But yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So but back to the point about like people getting off I think there's a social media diet, and then there's getting off cold turkey, and that's kind of I don't know. I feel like it makes life easier for people. Just make things. You're able to research and find things out and plan things better, and that's always great. But then I think my pain point is when people implement website solutions and they direct you to go to their website and it doesn't work.
Yeah, that is awful. Or my other favorite is when I signed up for something on the web and suddenly they will only let me use the app.
Yeah.
So really.
Yeah, so like yesterday I wanted to like look up a past order on Amazon, and the app could not do this. Like I wanted the full title of the item I bought because
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is terrible at naming things because they put all the name, because the search engine is terrible. So they put every like feature in the item in the title. And so when they give you like, hey, here's your email, you bought, they give you like 16 letters and then like ... So I need to know like what of this item did I buy back then, because I don't remember. And so I had to go back to the app and then online with my mobile phone, but they kept on like throwing me to the app. I was like, no, I know the app doesn't work because it didn't tell me what I wanted. And so so that was painful. And then there's a public service in Austin, and they're like, we have to pay the bill every 6 months or 12 months or whatever. And they say like, hey, go to our website, which is, to their credit, it's secure HTTPS, right? But I've gotten the habit of just like writing the domain name and then having it automatically forwarded to HTTPS.
Right.
And so when I type in the domain name, it just processes it, like it just spins.
Right.
And then it just times out because it doesn't auto connect to the HTTPS. And so I'm like, what's going on? And that same service, I think they fixed it. I think they put updates because they have a third-party credit card system because they're government. Is that I had to hack through Chrome DevTools ability to like select what I needed to in the drop-down field because it wouldn't accept my Mac browser. Yeah, it was like it was very much, you could tell it was PC only designed. So
maybe we could get back 5% of these Americans if the internet actually worked. Is that maybe?
Yeah, UX is real, y'all. Just want to let you. That's like it's very important. So I have issues with people who throw that around like it's I don't know, it's UX this, UX that, and without actually doing the research. But yeah, I think UX and think about the user and doing browser testing is always important. But I mean, we went from like, I read the story, but we went from like 80% people not on the internet to 11% not using the internet in the span of almost 20 years. So that's a huge cultural change. And one thing I've, seeing this, being on the internet since, early 90s, almost like yourself, but I just like, one of the things I like, hey, I wonder how America, and the world at large is going to comprehend and deal with this change information. And I don't think we're doing it too well. I don't think so.
No, I don't think we have. I don't think we figured that part out at all. I mean, it's fun because like when I talk to people, well, first I have the joy of explaining what my job is. I can manage to explain usually that it has something to do with the web. And actually, it used to be that, the classic complaint of the techie was that we had to fix everybody's computers because you get all these weird questions. Right. And people have stopped doing that to me. I think partly it's because more of their interactions are on their phones, and maybe, I don't know. Maybe that feels more personal. I don't know what it is. But they do have like an endless collection of complaints about various sites and things that should work and things that shouldn't, that just don't do what they expect, or things that were taken away. I think that's maybe the biggest part. And then, the whole social media conversation we just had. So I've basically taken to saying it's all my fault. It's much easier that way. But
oh man, I don't think you're like Atlas. You shouldn't put all of it on your shoulders, man. And
it kind of slides off.
but yeah, I think my latest trend I've seen of annoying UX is that while researching articles for our show, I was waiting for the page to stop loading, to stop loading all the JavaScript in the back end, so I could actually scroll the page, and close the ad banner, which is a sticky ad banner. So even though it was scrolling, it would stay there. It would overlap the video, which I wanted to see, which is crazy because most new sites auto play a video, and I really don't want to watch the video. I just want to read the article. And so by the time I could click close on the ad banner, it had finished the video. It had moved on to autoplay the next story, which I didn't care anything about. Yes. So I was just like, and so what I had to do, actually backed out, went to Google and just got the cached version of the story, so I can actually scroll and read the story. So.
Scrolling is very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, when it works.
Yeah. I don't honestly understand how we got here. I keep being told that it's making people money, but I don't see how, and I don't understand why anyone ever returns to these things. So I don't know. Now you're convincing me that 11% has got a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Number 6.
Well, speaking of being leaving the internet, there's there's a new story called "Burnt Out Millennials Are Quitting Lucrative Jobs." So,
yes, this one is kind of funny. I mean, it's from the New York Post, and it's got I don't know. The Post has an interesting twist on everything, and it is kind of about the lucrative jobs as like the signal that there are all of these rich people that it would like to talk about, and we should all care about them. I don't hear a lot of millennials able to do this, but I guess that like the ones who did kind of hit the jackpot are finding the jackpot wasn't especially worth it either. I don't remember any articles like this for Generation X, though. I think we all just felt stuck.
Well, and shafted, I thought too. So.
And shafted, yes, yeah. It's a good combination.
Stuck and shafted, yes.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm seeing more often, not just with millennials. Working in tech has been, I don't know. I feel like I know people who've made it staggeringly successful, more money than they know what to do with, and then a lot of people who like focused on something, it turned out not to be quite the next big thing, and then they kind of got trapped on the outside. I don't know. I sort of want like Fortune's Wheel, like as a icon floating in the background of my websites or something. It definitely feels like there's a lot of people being pushed, and I think the thing that I really like about this is that people are just saying, okay, enough. I can step out of this.
Yeah.
Even when I lived in New York for a while, I knew people who had jobs that sound mysteriously like the Devil Wears Prada kind of story of the assistant, where you're just working all the time for very little. It's supposed to be glorious, of course. I mean, obviously just to work there, you must be blessed, but the reality isn't like that. So anytime I hear about people just stepping away and doing something better or
different,
more interesting to them, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, also like a lot of these people, I believe they just quit their jobs and went traveling. And I think if you can do it, definitely go travel. And I mean, it just opens up your mind and just to other cultures and to history, which is history was never my strong suit, but actually going out and seeing. History is just and talking to people it makes it come alive a lot more. So
the other thing that I like about this approach, and I guess I've seen some of this in like friends' fun employment posts. I guess again in tech, if you sort of build up a war chest, you can just say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But people are taking longer trips, actually spending some time in a place instead of just kind of seeing the highlights.
Yeah.
And that does seem to change their perspective on everything. I just wish there was a way to make this available to a lot more people. So
yeah, I mean that's like one of the things we did with CC DevConf was actually we wanted to try. We worked hard. I think probably made too much, but to find different and engaging locales, so people would want to come. Hopefully they come for the content and the speakers, but definitely want to come and see the history and for that, But yeah, a lot of people following Instagram and social media. I'm not sure if it's social media, so everything is greater than probably what it is. But they're spending a lot more time traveling and sticking around and exploring really.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I liked about your conference locations was that you went out of your way to connect the conference participants to the location. I've been to lots of shows in like Orlando or Las Vegas or I don't know. It's like all of these places have their own virtues, but as conference places, they're just like super duper bland.
Yeah. And
the conference organizers recognize that and say, okay, we're just going to focus on the conference.
Yeah.
Anything you can do where you're like, go someplace and connect, even if you're going there for work, just seems like a big improvement.
Yeah, it's yeah, I just you talk about Las Vegas, and like one of my first web conferences was in Las Vegas, and I think it was my first time in Las Vegas. And I enjoyed the sheer I think overstimulation of Vegas in terms of this is a lot of air conditioning, there's a lot of space, but it was still like you're still a box. You're a human in a box, and then you're going to be served box lunches or whatever. So it just didn't feel like I felt like I was in a different world, I guess, which I guess is what Vegas is. And, but yeah, so I didn't feel like, and I got into other conferences where I'm in a hotel, I'm sleeping in the hotel, I'm in the conference in a hotel, and hotels are great, don't get me wrong, but, it just didn't feel like, we didn't feel like it's the same.
I remember once I went to South by Southwest and I did it wrong. I stayed in the Hilton and I went to the convention center, and I didn't really go anyplace else that trip.
Oh yeah.
Like I just crossed the street.
Yeah.
And that was like the dullest, most sterile South by Southwest experience possible. So
that's funny because you had to actually work for that. That's like you actually had to work to make that happen because
I was just early. I was speaking. I was early.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, these days I know that seems like an impossible dream, but that was like maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Possible.
Yeah, that seems like you would have to actually like, oh, I'm gonna like get my head down and walk in there, because like now it's like get smacked in the head with swag walking 10 feet out. But yeah. So anyway, but yeah, didn't want to do that. But yeah, so it's pretty good. Like people like I do want to read someone's quote here. I quit and I have nothing lined up, and I am bugging, says Jessica, a 35-year-old. So yeah. So and I was at point of my I was at the point of like stay and wish I was dead, or leave and be full of anxiety. So I'm not making fun of her because she sounds exactly like I speak, I think. So that's but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
So.
Yes. A friend of mine just left an awesome job to do something that's what she's really wanted to do for years, and I just couldn't stop being excited on the phone. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Okay, next story.
Number 5.
Okay, Facebook's forecast for the future suddenly looks bleak.
Well, what's going to happen if we can't tell all our travel stories on Facebook? I mean, isn't that what it's for? Oh, that's Instagram.
I think they come over and we get our photos on slides, and we get a slide carousel and get that jelly dessert lined up and just share our photos the old-fashioned way, like our grandparents did. So
I did that a few times. Not my slides, but other people's slides. Yeah. Well, I mean, on Facebook, it's not the 11% of people who aren't using the internet, really. In some ways, it's that, like, how much further can they grow? There really aren't that many people left who are connected to the internet who aren't on Facebook. As a percentage, I know lots of people who are not on Facebook, but, like, the easy to reach crowd is declining fast.
Okay.
I think a lot of us are less thrilled with Facebook than we used to be anyway. Partly it's novelty, partly it's privacy, partly it's that sometimes they don't really seem to know what they're doing. But yeah, it just like hit a wall. That was kind of amazing. Like, it's not invincible.
Yeah. Well, I think reading a little bit more into it was that, they have this, quarterly conference call, like how well they did, they made their numbers. And, everything was sounded great until the financial officer got on the phone, a conference call with the reporters.
There are several factors contributing to that deceleration. For example, we expect currency to be a slight headwind in the second half versus the tailwinds we have experienced over the last several quarters. We plan to grow and promote certain engaging experiences like stories that currently have lower levels of monetization. And we are also giving people who use our services more choices around data privacy, which may have an impact on our revenue growth. European ad revenue growth decelerated more quickly than other regions and was impacted primarily by reduced currency tailwinds and, to a lesser extent, the rollout of GDPR.
And it's like, yeah, we didn't make our estimates, and so, but he kind of like squeezed in there. That was the GDPR, the privacy issue, was that people in Europe were like, yeah, I don't really want to deal with you until you're ready, until like you make sure you're legit, was kind of like the impression I got. And so make sure you're signed up. And then people, and they had, basically everyone had to like re-sign up. We had a whole episode about it, but had to sign up and re-up, if you will, and reaffirm. And so people just didn't do that. And more importantly, the advertisers weren't re-upping their ads on Facebook because they were concerned about that, about their ads not being into privacy issues and stuff like that too. Also, you talk about Facebook not knowing what they're doing. Sometimes it's the part where they know what they're doing and they do it, and it's not cool. And
they do it anyway. Yeah. I mean, like the letter from Alex Stamos that came out, which I guess he wrote a few months ago, well before he left. Was really calling for change. The early history of Facebook is not really encouraging in this either. Actually, most of the history of Facebook really isn't. The further back you look at Facebook, the more terrifying it becomes on privacy. And the current history isn't great either.
His article says, I'm just going to quote a line from it. It's like, we need to intentionally not collect data where possible.
Yes, exactly. That's the first rule of security is don't have information around that you don't need to have. Yeah. And then nobody can steal it. But everybody likes to have these things lately. It's an incredibly difficult thing to run. We have no experience in the world with this. Basically, I'm trying to think like previous media stuff was all broadcast. Print was broadcast, television, radio. There were lots of opportunities for kind of the round trip conversation, but they were mostly in like institutions like churches and governments and schools. So different kind of social. So I'm not surprised that we have no idea how to do this. It is new and different and difficult, and we really only have 30 or 40 years of experience doing this at all.
Yeah.
You can see some of the same problems in like the earliest iterations of the internet and then networks before that, but there weren't a lot of people on those. But yeah, they got to figure it out and fast. And not just them. I think everyone in tech who touches social media has a lot of the same problems.
Number 4.
Well, speaking of other people with the same problems, Twitter also announced that they have their shares dropped 90% after reporting declining monthly activity users. So
that's actually maybe a little bit different. I'd love to see I need to research the details behind that. But I know a lot of people who want to walk away from Facebook entirely.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who are just doing less on Twitter.
Oh, really?
I know a lot of people who used to be really enthusiastic about their feed and kind of curating their feed. And, this was where they found all of these cool things from people who were sort of mostly their friends. I think some of it for Twitter in particular is the politics. I think Facebook also has this problem, but the conversations I have about Twitter are more like my entire feed turned into politics. I don't know what I did. And so people are kind of checking in and using it as like a broadcast medium. Here's this thing that I did and kind of hoping it goes. But it feels less conversational and the conversations are shoutier. I don't know. That's the view from here. They may have a very different perspective because they can see it much better than I can. Right. So.
Yeah, they blame that they're not going forward with paid CMS carrier relationships. So like back in the day, you could actually like have have your tweets texted to you, which I kept on for as long as I could. And then it's like, oh, sorry, we're going notifications for app, and then they decided not to really develop their app anymore. Whatever, blah 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 blah. And but we're all here. The app actually works a little bit better. But and then also I think they also run into they cite the GDPR issue as well, is because they had to get that in place as well, and that they said that affected about 3 million accounts for all that. And so, but if you know, Twitter went through a whole purging of bots and fake accounts, and so it was really weird. So they had this big hit and this reveal that they didn't meet projections, or but they They purged 70 million accounts, but that was not effective. That's not on the quarter report. So that's actually going to go on the next quarter's report. So I think it's going to be actually worse going forward for Twitter. So in terms of trying to get back on the right path. So, and I know they've been going with that.
I've always wondered how Twitter stays in business. I mean, I know the business models and all. It just seems even more challenging than Facebook.
Well, it's too big to fail, I think, is their business model.
Yes. That is a terrifying business model, but okay. Yeah. I mean, and Facebook has a lot of the same bot problems. My favorite, I've kept the friend request around just because the name is so funny.
Yeah.
I have a friend request from Abby Botnick. And I'm like, Botnick name. Okay, sure. Who's doing this? Why? What? There's nothing there. I just keep it around for entertainment, but it reminds me.
All right. Next story.
Number 3.
Amazon's face recognition falsely matches 28 members of Congress with mugshots,
including my congressman, who I went to high school with. So
oh, really? All right.
I don't think it's really his mugshot, though.
There's nothing better than using Congress mugshots or headshots with to prove a point. It's like, hey, Congressman, guess what? They will. This is great. This story comes from, I guess, the ACLU about this, and so I mean, this is in terms of PR. I wouldn't say stunt, but just in terms of PR of a press release, it's absolutely brilliant. And so kudos to whoever put this idea together. I read this, was like awesome. I mean, it's a great idea, like to raise awareness about the issue. But I felt like great job and pulling this one off. So, but you pulled this story to my attention. So I'm not sure.
I mean, so this one is also kind of a story about, like, we don't know how to manage the technologies we've created. In this case, though, it's not just that. It's just that the facial recognition isn't actually that great yet. There are tons of issues with training, some of which have to do with, like, what the training sets were, how we decided these things were going to go, what assumptions we had going into them. We seem to be really good at teaching computers our bad habits. And it used to be slow and painful through programming. But now with the machine learning stuff, we can just kind of hand them a data set, and the computers can find all of our bad ideas and repeat them to us as if they were great ideas. Eventually, I think we'll probably get past a lot of that. I think stunts like this make it really clear where we're failing, and that creates, at least in theory, incentives to do better. I haven't talked to my congressman about his reaction to this, but I'm sure he was at least unamused somehow. He's frequently unamused. But part of it is just that the technology isn't nearly what we sell it as, and part of it is that we really have no idea how to fit this into our culture. And this is, I don't know, anything that touches on law enforcement and is screwed up just seems a lot more dangerous. Let's screw up law enforcement at scale.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to my previous point, like, how do we handle these technologies that we've created, and as America as a whole, like, trying to deal with it. So I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's ripe for study. If not, I mean, I'm pretty sure there already is. I probably look into people who are I like to talk to people who are looking into this more. But
I think I'd mostly like to say on this kind of stuff, we should slow down. It's not that we can't explore it. It's not that it's just rushing to production is like, whoa. I mean, I've worked on things that should not have been rushed to production. I've seen that, but none of them were nearly as potentially devastating as this. I guess the other story, and I've only seen, like, the headlines on this one, is the Watson and cancer story, that oncologists are saying that IBM's magical artificial intelligence on cancer treatments is producing some dangerous results. I would love to know more about that. But I also was like, when they first started doing that, I was like, are they picking this field because failures are frequent anyway. I mean, this just, not where I would start.
Yeah.
Let's work on like pizza recipes or something. I mean, I'm sure the computers will tell me that we should all be eating Hawaiian pizzas, and I can't do that. But no, but
just on principle, no Hawaiian pizza, or just
no principle, and it just is so weird in my mouth. I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
My wife orders them all the time, and it's a religious argument. It's complicated.
Okay, I agree. Like before, but now I converted, and so I'm okay with the Hawaiian pizza. So
Number 2.
Yeah, so scientists have discovered an entirely new shape, and it's in your body right now. Just want to let you guys know. So it's called the scutoid. Is that how you pronounce it, do you think?
Scutoid, I don't know.
Yeah, and so basically the idea was like the working theory was that cells were kind of made out of kind of a prism shape, if you will, and they somehow just like glob together. And so the scientists, they released their paper, and they said like, they kind of looked into it, and like, and they discovered the shape, and they didn't have, even a name in math. So that's how they were able to say, hey, it's a new shape altogether. And
especially that they fit together. I mean, that part's crazy.
Cool.
Awesome.
And to describe it, I'm not sure is the best way to describe it, but like think of a rectangular cardboard box that someone had got wet and then decided to dry real fast. And so you have this warping cardboard box with different shapes, sides to it.
The top has 5 sides. The bottom has 6 sides. There's some funky connections. Mm-hmm. I kind of want dice made in this shape, but you'd have to use the bottom of the die to give you the result instead of the top. It's very cool.
Yeah, and so this unique shape allows them to join together and grow, and so like that's why you're able to like grow from just this embryo into this big human, pretty much because
without looking like we're made of Lego blocks.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Definitely, I think look into the article, and I think if we don't get buildings in this shape in the near future, I think we should cancel all architecture schools, because I think that's just.
I just want dice. Let's keep it small.
Oh, dice. Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I can only imagine what Frank Gehry's going to do with this shape, and.
So this, I just found this article. I think it was just released like today that we're recording this. I think by the end of today, we'll have you'll be able to download a 3D printer file and be able to print out your dice if you really want to. So
you're right.
Just because I have faith in the internet. That's why we can't solve politics on the internet, social media, but I think we get your die, your scutoid die. Right,
what I really want is like a whole bag of them, so I can fit them together and like make curves and strange stuff out of them.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
You want Lego. That's what you're talking about. You want scutoid Lego.
Well, I want Lego with outright angles. I think. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because I like when I do woodworking. 90 degrees is easy, so lots of my stuff just looks like that. But the stuff that gets me really excited is things that you can do that are sort of regular but give you curves and like organic shapes. I've been building paths in my garden, so I'm like using sheets of cardboard to define the stuff, but then I don't want it to look like I just like put down a giant chunk of cardboard. So I don't know. Scutoids seem like the right answer. Maybe I can get mulch in that.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe plastic mulch.
But yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot more of the shapes because it looks. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's just because we're made of scutoids, but it looks like a nice, friendly looking shape, So maybe we'll see those in, a bench, for a garden or something like that too. That'd be pretty nice. I don't know. Definitely go look for it. I think it's pretty awesome. Go look in the article. We'll have a link in the show notes for people for that.
Number 1.
And our final story is that there is a lake of water on Mars. So, so it was announced that there's actually a buried lake, if you will, beneath some ice. I believe it's what you call. So there's actually kind of a lake down there. It's actually you have to scroll all the way. What I also don't like is that in mainstream news sites, the cool parts of a science article are always at the last paragraphs. So,
of course.
So because you have to whatever, but it's actually the water is actually buried underneath 1.5 kilometers of ice, and so basically we have to build a robot to go over there specifically designed for this mission, and then 2 figure out how to drill 1.5 kilometers.
That's a lot of drilling pipe to haul around with you.
Yeah.
I unless we send over some kind of massive mission, I think that water is probably safe from us for a while, but we'll see.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So maybe I don't know.
I think we always get excited when there's water. Like whenever we detect water, it just gives us these visions. And who knows, maybe the right thing to do in Mars is not to terraform it, but to live beneath the surface next to this giant water thing. And I don't know, that seems complicated. But hey.
Yeah. Well, I did say 2001 has been restored and 70 millimeter is going around theaters. So if you have a chance to watch it, my local theater, like the Alamo Draft House, they always every year they do they show 2001, and so the last time I did it, you could tell the print was not its best, so it was really great to come and just I think this past week last weekend I actually saw the enhanced. It's not perfect print because they didn't do any digital effects to it. It's actually 70 millimeter print, but it's been chemically preserved a little bit better, and so it's actually just a beautiful print, and it just talks about life out there. But that made me immediately go to 2010, which is a totally different style movie than Kubrick's 2001. But there's this whole scene where like there's chlorophyll on one of the moons. So I think it's Saturn. Was the moon on Saturn? Is that right?
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So on Saturn and so they're tracking chlorophyll, and it's like starts off another chain reaction for the space baby aliens to get all bent out of shape for humans. So. But yeah, so like that kind of like then we discovered like there's water underneath Mars, and so like it's kind of curious. So it got me kind of excited. So hopefully in the future, but we'll be able to find more existent life. But I mean, we found, this also kind of piggybacks off the previous claim that we found bacterial life existed on Mars before, and so if we're able to find life within this body of water that's buried underneath there, I mean. I'm not sure, other than being cool, what we can do about that. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm completely comfortable with it just being cool.
Okay.
That's actually the way I prefer my space stuff. So
yeah, so I don't know, and then yeah, that's about it. So I think that's a pretty busy week in news.
That's okay. It's been a busy week in many ways.
Yeah,
so this is one of those weeks where I kept thinking that it was going to be an easy day, and then so much kept happening. It just,
Right. Cool. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Simon. How can people find out more about Simon and talk to Simon?
Well, all these places I talked about as if they're failing. The easiest place to start finding me is on Twitter, SIMONSTL. That'll link you to my website, and from there you can find me on Facebook, actually. Yeah, just Simon St. Laurent on most forms of social media.
Cool. Awesome. And I'm Teleject on Twitter, TELEJCT. And see you next week.